nothing. But like I said in my last post, in jail, and I'm just talking to the Southsider Mexicans, because the Norteño Mexicans, they run with the brothers. I'm talking to these Southsiders, these NKs, these ones that have the audacity. Y'all have the fucking audacity to say y'all niggas killers. But on the other hand, when the shit didn't hit the fan, y'all out here talking about, we're all the black folks that's supporting us. But y'all have the audacity to say that y'all nigga killers. And you do. Y'all got fucking gangs that say y'all strictly NK. Not white K. Nah. Y'all not white K. The same motherfucker that wants your people up out of here, that's rounding your people up like animals and shipping them up out of here. No, y'all not white K. Y'all nigga killers. The same motherfucker that live in your apartment building. The same motherfucker you go down to the liquor store, and the same motherfucker you go to the laundromat and he's there. You have the audacity to say you nigga killers. Where you get that from? Huh? I'm talking to you Mexicans. Where the fuck you get that from, bro?
Alright? They're rounding your asses up with their unrighteous decrees and take your asses to El Salvador, man. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? That's all through the Lord, through Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Okay? So I was elated, I laughed, I didn't give a fuck, man. That's just what it is, because our people are wicked, man. Alright? We brothers in LA, brothers down south, we know, we see it. You know what I'm saying? We see the hate towards us, man. We feel that shit, even in supermarkets. Even at work, at the job, man. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? Now the Lord's kicking your ass right now. For you to know that you cannot be the so-called white man. No matter how much you worship and kiss his fucking boots, you will never be like the so-called white man be so either.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before we get this epistle started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to our beloved Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, our beloved Lord and Savior, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harachak Wadash. Double honor, as always, to our beloved elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who we learn the truth from daily, whether you hear or forbear, and a sincere salutation, as always, to the rest of the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, which consists of our sincere elders and Akim of Great Millstone, and the Akim on down that teach the likewise doctrine and all truth and sincerity with diligence, the speckled bird Hebrew Israelite foreigners scattered among the heathen, that look like the heathen, the sincere Akim of the nation of Israel that rehearse the righteous acts of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, in truth and sincerity, and the sincere Akwath that listen in silence and meekness, as the scriptures command to do so. Yeah, and this topic is pretty straightforward, man, touching upon these different Northern Kingdom Israelites. For those who don't know, the Israelites of the Northern Kingdom would be the Israelites that are of the so-called Latino and Native American tribes, all right? But primarily this is going to those of the Latino tribes within the Northern Kingdom. All right, those that still feel like they're white man, so-called white man adjacent. You see, those that still have an evil eye towards their brother. And through the spirit, the beloved Shah Shamaria here in the camp, he had made a point. At camp recently about how a lot of Northern Kingdom Jakes are getting judged because they don't have any cloak for their sin. There's many times are we out on the highways and the byways, you know, whether it be our camp of Great Millstone or the other camps of Great Millstone, and many of the Northern Kingdom, primarily the so-called Spanish-speaking tribes, they treat it as if, you know, the ministry has nothing to do with them. They, you know, like the Shah has said, they treat it as if it's just a so-called black-only thing, which we clearly are out on the highways and the byways to fucking tell you 1,001 times the true biblical Hebrew Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, but just like the Southern Kingdom wants to hang on to that stupid ass black shit, you got a lot of Northern Kingdoms that want to hang on to that stupid Latino shit, in the sense of not realizing that these are bywords that were placed on us. And these bywords that were placed upon all 12 tribes, it puts us in a situation where, I'll just get the precept. Going back to the curses, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse. I'll start at, I'll just get 54, get right into it. And it reads, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother. See? So that's what it is right there. That's a curse. You see, and Jake don't even understand. All right, Jake don't even understand that it's a curse for him to have an evil eye towards his brother. So you see, when you have, when you have the so-called Mexicans, which is actually the tribe of Issachar, calling themselves NKs or whatever they on, these different individuals that that basically put Jake to death, that basically put Southern Kingdom Jake to death. That's part of the curses, and the Lord's going to judge you for that, unless he puts the spirit on you to repent. All right, but for the most part, you see, this is why Northern Kingdom is getting judged. This is why Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is allowing Esau, Edom to self-proclaim so-called white man. All right, primarily Donald Trump, who the Lord has allowed to become the president of the United States once more. This is why he's allowing. This is why he's allowing what he's allowing. This is why he's letting these Edomites round up Northern Kingdom. See, this is the exact reason why Yahweh Bashmiel Shai is allowing Northern Kingdom to be rounded up, without their rights even mattering. Because Jake don't think that shit stinks until it directly affects them. You have many of Northern Kingdom Israelites, so-called Latinos, that voted for Donald Trump. And oftentimes, when it comes to, the solidarity between the so-called blacks and the so-called Latinos, okay, you have instances where there's unity, and then you have the other instances where, once again, Northern Kingdom Jake thinks that Southern Kingdom Jake is just lazy because we won't work for pennies on the dollar, or just because we always have something to say where Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man is where he's concerned. And the reason being is because we've been around his ass for long enough to know that, look, he's a devil. He can't be trusted. All we, whether it's our experiences with him being Southern Kingdom, you see, whether it's any Southern Kingdom brothers experience, or whether it's any Northern Kingdom brothers experience, all we all have to do is look at how Esau, Edom treated Gad. This is a landmass that belonged to Gad and Reuben, the so-called North American Indians and the so-called Seminole Indians, all right, as well as Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, more than likely when they was called Aztecs. But the point is, Salakia, this is why the scripture speaks about being prudent. And the scriptures also tell you, let me get that real quick. All right. Sirach, better known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 10. And it reads, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. See? And you Northern Kingdom Jakes, man, you running out of fucking excuses, because we have brothers of Great Millstone and brothers that teach the likewise doctrine that may not officially have Great Millstone on their name. We got brothers of the Northern Kingdom that have made lessons that have made lessons through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai in Spanish. So even if you had that whole mindset of, I'm not going to listen to a Moreno or whatever the fuck, the Lord is making it where none of the 12 tribes has any cloak for their sin. You see? The Lord has made it where even if that was your hang up, even if that was your stumbling block, I'm not going to listen to him. He's a Moreno. He looks like this. He's blah, 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 blah. He's a Negrito, whatever the fuck. The Lord has made it where there are brothers that look just like you that are preaching the same thing as Israelites that have the dark skin. So, that right there plays a part in it, but it ultimately boils down into you niggas just being 2/3, man. And you got brothers, this ain't for the brothers that obviously believe in Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, because all of us put away that stupid stumbling block of judging based on the outward appearance. We don't give a damn. All we worrying about is if the brothers moving in the spirit of Yahweh Shai or not. But you see, Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, he mentally sodomized you so much that you don't even know what to fight for. You sit right here fighting to be an honorary white person, like just because you look like these niggas somewhat. But even then, these Edomites don't respect you. If that's what you was gunning for, shit, good luck. You'll never get the so-called white man's respect, because his hatred of you is ingrained from the Heavenly Father himself. He's designed to dislike you. And you as an Israelite, you have been designed to walk with prudence and to walk with some semblance of fucking common sense. But Jake, you just refuse to do it. See? And that's something that, all 12 tribes, when you get called into this ministry, if you did have any misgivings, you got to let that go. If you had any misgivings about one of your brothers because of how they look, you got to let that shit go. Shit, even within the Southern Kingdom, all right, we grow up pretty much, it's a mixed bag here too. Maybe not as much as Northern Kingdom, but point is, Southern Kingdom, you got it where not every single Southern Kingdom Israelite, whether it's Judah, Benjamin, or Levi, even looks like stereotypical Wesley Snipes or whoever. Nah, you got it with Southern Kingdom. That's where the whole yellow bone, red bone thing comes from. You got members of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that are light skinned. You see? So yeah, it just goes to show that, look, Esau Edom, he destroys Jake on many different levels. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemiel Shah, that's where we apply prudence. And we have to move in such a way where we don't allow the enemy to put us in even further of a trick bag. You got to really ask yourself, what benefit do I have coming at somebody that's going through the same thing I'm going through, all right, to please some lying piece of shit who all of the tribes at this point knows he's no good. Salakia. I'm going to read more on this. Sirach better known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 12 verse 10. And it reads, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and shall see, Salakia, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Right, so this is basically telling you, you got to pay attention to the so-called white man. One of his main calling cards is pretending to be your friend. You see? And not to say that Southern Kingdom don't have their issues. There's times where Jake just really there's instances where Jake really just don't want to do shit. All right? But the point is, overall, it's because we know the self-proclaimed so-called white man, he's not going to honor any deal that he makes with a Jake. All right? And that's something that Northern Kingdom, 2/3 of the Northern Kingdom is never going to get hip to and never going to acknowledge until it's too late. You see? But that's why the Lord is only worrying about the elect out of all 12 tribes, man. You see? So basically what this precept is saying is, if you take heed of Esau, meaning if you peep game, if you don't trust him, if you pay attention and be prudent with him, the same way you scrutinize your brothers, the same way you look at your brothers a certain type of way when they walk inside of a supermarket, if you work there, or the same way you look at your brothers crazy because they may be darker skinned. And I'm speaking about how Northern Kingdom also look at other Northern Kingdom. That shit is pathetic. You see? It's only slightly different for Southern Kingdom in some instances because, Jake gets defiant, where it's like, look, man, if Esau hates me because of my skin tone, fuck him. I'm not here to please him. That's the spirit all 12 tribes got to be in. See? Whether Esau despises you because you have the typical ancient look of having dark skin and woolly hair, or whether Esau despises you just because you one of the tribes, fuck him. That's the spirit you got to be in. You worrying about the wrong things. You worrying about what the devil has to say about you. This nigga, he's not stylish. He's a lame even with money. Nobody likes him. His women don't like him. He got a tiny rod for the most part, and even when he do, he's just a lame. Nobody wants to be around him. So even on a carnal level, the Lord is showing you that the Edomites are a miserable race of people. They're the wicked, and they're the devil that the Bible speaks of. And they're going to be destroyed. And everything they do should point you in the direction of realizing that they aren't worth a shit. But to basically at this late stage of the game still have this stupid ass you know, I forgot what it's called. What is that? The Viva La Raza shit that Issachar be having going on. All right, it's nothing wrong. It's nothing wrong with wanting to better your race, but you don't have any fucking knowledge. If you still existing in 2025 thinking that the so-called Negroes and the so-called Latinos are not the same people, you don't know. You just lost. I want to go back to the video because the first dude, not the elder, but this dude right here, he said something. Basically, it's a point that needs to be made.
Folks know our history. We know our history. Black man ain't never did nothing to the Mexican man. White folks have, though. White folks took your country. Took your country right from under your people. Black folks ain't did nothing. But, like I said in my last post, in jail, and I'm just talking to the South Sider man.
Oh, Salakia. It's probably a little early in the video. I'm trying to get right to the point.
That y'all just like niggas. But y'all think y'all better than niggas. And that's your problem. Y'all been so racist towards the black man. Towards the same race that's in the same boat as y'all.
There you go, right there. The same race is in the same boat as y'all. You see? Now, what Jake don't even realize while he's saying this, is the simple fact that the so-called Negroes and the so-called Latinos, as well as the so-called Native Americans, we are the same race. We're all Israelites. We're all Hebrew Israelites, all right? But based upon our respective tribes and which Edomites took us captive, all right, which Edomites out of the three horns took us captive, that has determined our byword. You see? The tribe of Judah, being the so-called Negroes, have primarily been taken captive by the English-speaking Edomites. All right, so Judah, for the most part, is the bulk of Judah in the last days, as far as the prophecy says. And Babylon the Great, they're going to be here in America. All right, and then you got it where Benjamin was taken over by the English in certain instances. All right, so they speak their patois and stuff like that. All right, they got their language. You got, they speak English, and then you got it with Levi taken over by the French. Okay, they speak Haitian Creole. All right, and then you have it where the Northern Kingdom tribes, primarily the so-called Latino tribes, they were conquered by the Spanish-speaking Edomites. Okay. See, in Gad and Reuben, the so-called North American Indians and the so-called Seminole Indians, they were conquered by English-speaking Edomites, and Spanish-speaking Edomites in certain instances. It's like a mixed bag, but the point is, these bywords we have, it goes back to the curses. It's nothing to flex about. It's not a flex because you fucking speak Spanish. It's not a flex because, Southern Kingdom speaks English. We know that it's not a flex. We are all speaking our oppressor's language. All right, so basically, it's stupid to do the oppressor's work for him. The same way Southern Kingdom Jake is stupid for doing Esau's work for him by pushing gang culture. The Northern Kingdom tribes will have to be stupid to be proud to put their own to death. But this is why the Lord is basically making a difference between his elect and the 2/3. Let's get this real quick. Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, and it reads, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children." Right, so look, you forget the law of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai in favor of the damn devil the Bible speaks of because you've been housebroken. The Lord's going to forget you and your children. This is why there's no protection for you being rounded up and just shipped back to wherever the hell Trump decides to ship you. And Trump right here, he speaks for the true spirit of the Edomite. Dealing with Donald Trump as if the Lord is just like if the Lord had given you inside peek inside of the true feelings of every single Edomite. He doesn't give a fuck if you a so-called Mexican. He's shipping you to El Salvador, where Zebulon is. All right. That's how racist these Edomites are. They don't look at you the way you look at you. All right. They don't share your delusions that you have about your own self-importance. That's one thing you got to understand, Jake. They don't give a fuck whether you call yourself a so-called Mexican, a so-called Dominicano, a so-called Cubano. They don't give a fuck, man. Esau is like, look, man, if I see anything that speaks Spanish, I'm sending it to fucking El Salvador. That's the type of spirit that he's in. He don't care. He's reminding you what the fuck he did to all 12 tribes. He doesn't care about any of that. He doesn't care about about what you determine as the line in the sand, like, oh, I'm different from them. He don't give a fuck. You know, and on top of that, the elites already know that we're the same people. See? Let me see. Sweeping rain. It's a precept that basically goes right in. Yep, the water y'all bash me out shot. Proverbs chapter 28, verse 3. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. Right, so it means you fucking pointless. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are all poor on a grand scheme of things because Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, he has us in captivity. So for you to oppress your brother because of something as stupid as skin tone, you serve a pointless existence, bro. The point of rain is to come down, water crops, and then once it dries up and everything, everybody knows the process. You get fruit, you get different fruits and vegetables and different types of grains and produce that grow that the nation can be fed. But you basically doing what you do, like the precept says right here, that you're like a sweeping rain that leaves no food. So it's crazy, but that's what it is. The Lord is colorfully describing to you how stupid it is to oppress somebody that's in the same boat as you. So I'll play that one more time. That point right there, that's the point that I was looking for.
Y'all been so racist towards the black man, towards the same race that's in the same boat as y'all.
Right, so now I'm going to go back to it. Proverbs 28, verse 3. A poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain which leaveth no food. See? So you're pointless, bro. It's no, like, what the fuck are you doing? What do you get better by doing that? And that's the thing, like the elders always say, you can buy a nigga cheap. So even though Jake wasn't really getting anything of worth, Jake felt like he was getting something of worth. So he kept doing it even though he never really upped his station. Having to work for the so-called white man is not a sign that you're better. It's a sign you're still a slave. But you see, that's that lack of righteous pride that these Northern Kingdom Jakes that are still in the world, they walk with. And the Lord is judging these individuals through Esau using ice. You see, brothers are not out there on the highways and the byways. You see, brothers are not speaking Spanish for no reason. Brothers are warning you to not trust your oppressor. Because in the days to come, if Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shah doesn't have you covered, you're going to see way worse than these ice raids. These ice raids are just the hors d'oeuvres at the party, bro. You ain't even got to the main course yet. See? That's all it is. The Lord loves his people, so he's sending out his prophets to let you know what's up. And I'm going to get that and I'm going to close. Ezekiel chapter 3. All right. Verse 4, and he said unto me, Son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with them, so I can speak my words unto them. For thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech, and of an hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech and of an hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely, had I sent thee unto them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. You see, that's Jake, man. So, what right here is already being said that, look, the Lord, he knows how his people is. So he sends his own people to preach to his own people, to prophesy to his own people, to lead his own people. Because even going back into our law, we're not supposed to have a heathen as a king over us. So you Northern Kingdom Jakes, you was going to fuck off by voting in the first place. You could have just kept your head low like Moab and just made your money. But nah, you niggas had to fucking coon and buffoon for Esau. And you see, Jake was trying to be brotherly to you and let you know, look, bro, we already went that route. Don't do that. Just make your money and keep it low. But nah, you had to make asses of yourselves. You had to clown yourselves further by damn near, kissing the ground this nigga walks on. Now he's showing you his ass to kiss. Surprise, surprise. But this is why we all got to turn back to Yahweh Ba'al Shem Yahweh Shai. You see? Brothers ain't coming in the spirit really if I told you so, but it's just, look, bro, if you want to keep being stupid, play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. The Lord ain't called any of us into this truth to keep making the same stupid ass mistakes. There's a reason why brothers of the Northern Kingdom, they renounce being so-called Latino and they preach the truth. All right. Now, reading on, I'm going to get Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 8. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. As an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Right, so the point is, all right, we're not worried about what you got to say, Jake. We letting you know, look, the heat's coming down. And what ICE doing what they did, you seen just a preview of what the elders and the brothers have been prophesying about when they speak about martial law. See? So for the brothers of the Northern Kingdom and the sisters of the Northern Kingdom that repent, all right, the Lord, you know, he's going to have mercy on you. Just like brothers, you know, of the various different camps that repented and they came back to their true heritage. They know what's up. All right, no one's trying to deprive you of anything good. We're letting you know that, look, we've been in spiritual warfare with the so-called white man in this particular fashion ever since 1492. Things didn't change because you learned his damn language, Jake. That, like, come on now, wake the fuck up. Now let's get this real quick and then I'll close. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33. And it reads, thus said the Lord Yahweh Tasabawath, the children of Israel, the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, and the children of Judah, the so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians, were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. That's right here in the land of Babylon the Great. All 12 tribes have been oppressed by Esau, even the self-proclaimed so-called white man. All right. And he refused to let us go. That goes into how even if you can leave the country, you can't really leave for a long period of time. Ultimately, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. We have no freedom. Verse 34. And this entire empire is made off of the labor of the Israelites. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord Yahweh Tasabawath is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. All right, that's America. That's one of the code names for America, Babylon the Great. A sword is upon the Chaldeans, saith the Lord Yahweh Shai, and upon the inhabitants of Babylon, and upon her princes, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall dote. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be dismayed. You see? So all these things that you put your trust in because, you know, it's in the possession of Babylon, all of their weapons, all of their resources, whatever. The Lord is telling you that destruction is coming to all this stuff. So if you ally yourself with it, you're going to be destroyed. And this is before this great destruction takes place. Yeah, the Lord's going to make sure you go through deportation and all these other different things that you feel like is unrighteous. What we keep telling you, more importantly, Yahweh Shai keeps telling you that this is the devil that the Bible speaks of. But if you're stupid enough to keep believing in him because you feel like the skin tone, the skin complexion you share with this nigga is that more important, then look, that's you. That is what it is. But the brothers that are in the right spirit, they know what it is. All through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai. But that's all I have with this epistle. Once again, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harakha Kwadash. Double honor as always to our beloved elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who we learn the truth from daily, and the sincere citations as always to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.